So it's live now, and mainly the thing that I wanted to say is I've been playing a lot of FIFA 20. I'd messaged you this weekend. I was playing it like nonstop when I got it. Then I stopped playing it for like 3 or 4 months, and then I started playing it again. And one of the things I did is I've started increasing the level because I was killing teams like 15-0.
Yeah.
So then I increased it to like pro level, then from pro to like all pro, from all pro to all star, whatever, and you kind of keep going up. And what I realized is that as you increase the levels of sports games, right? You're increasing the bullshit, right? Is what it is.
Essentially.
Because I've got guys on my team. I specifically went out and got guys who had like 95 pace, 90 pace, like really fast guys. And they're getting chased down by fullbacks. And I know some of those wingbacks are fast, right? But I'm saying like a midfielder, like a Yuri Tielemans whose speed is like 81, and he's chasing down like Adama. I don't think so,
I mean, there's a lot of that anyway in FIFA, just because it's harder to sprint with the ball than you think it is. But also the thing with FIFA is when you go up is I think the injuries go up to your players, which is whack, and then like the random touches. Like the random goals, that goes up too. It's ridiculous. It gets hard when you get up there, man.
Well, I'm at one level below world class right now.
World class is rough. It's rough.
And like I said, the thing that's bothering me is the only guy on my team, like I mentioned to you, that doesn't have a lot of pace is Mason Greenwood, who his speed and acceleration is like 81, 82. And so he's one of the slower guys in the front of my offense. And yet, despite his slowness, I can't hit him with lead passes because they get intercepted every time. But in like set plays, like he just finds the goal. Like he just is right where he needs to be. So.
I mean, that's what he does in real life too. The kid just has a knack for goals. He's super young. I mean, as you know, I'm pretty sure he's 19 right now. And I mean, he just has a knack for goals. The kid's a stud. He's an up and comer for sure. And he's through the system too. He's been with United for a long, long time.
All right, well, thank you, everybody, for listening to our video game rant. We are going to kick things off with our video. You may notice a little bit different intro, and then we're going to talk about that in just a second.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.
Jordan. Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan. Drives one out to deep left field. This one's got a chance to get out of here. Gone! 3-run Jimmy Jack first. Big league home run for Mike Trout.
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
And an 81-point game. 55 in the second half. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed the second greatest scoring performance in NBA history.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Infinity Sports. Obviously, I'm here. I'm Wayne G. I'm hosting along with Sully, who's joining me.
Let's go. Let's do it, Wayne.
Not much, man. Oh, actually, a lot. Actually, so the big thing going on right now, obviously, if you noticed from the beginning of our intro video, some of the graphics we have here right now, we have made a switch from the All Access Sports Network, formerly RTF, to Belly Up Sports. A little bit bigger network, a lot more shows. We're kind of fitting in there as the new guys, and hopefully everything goes really well with this transition. I do want to say thank you so much to Michael Buckheister, who's the CEO of All Access Sports, because he really brought us on when we were FBAS. We had 3 followers, my wife, Jesse's mom, and I think your girlfriend, and really helped us grow the show to the point that, a larger network would be interested in picking us up. So thank you so much, Michael, for, having us.
Yeah, obviously. First and foremost, thank you to RTS Sports, now All Access Sports, for, like you said, for giving us the shot, giving us a platform to speak our word. We were obviously a nothing show, and, we've grown to the point that, now we can go to a bigger network, and, we wish our All Access Sports all the best, and hopefully they can grow their network and their shows as well. But, we're excited for the new opportunity with Belly Up Sports. I like the name. I like the idea that they had and where they're going with it. And really excited for the future and see where it can go, obviously.
Absolutely. And obviously you're watching us probably live on Facebook Live. You can see here 7 p.m. Mondays and Wednesdays currently, as well as you can find the shows on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, that's a new one, and YouTube. You can check out the live video, which you definitely want to do, as well as replays of the video. And you can reach out to us, as always, on our webpage, as well as Facebook at Infinity Sports Podcast, Instagram at Infinity Sports Podcast, and Twitter at Sports Infinity 5. We will respond, as it says in red. And like I said, visit the website as well. We have great merchandise. Oh, I took down the merchandise thing. I got to add that in later. But the big thing with Belly Up Sports is they're a huge blog site. I have a new blog up right now. It is the GOAT debate. It is Michael Jordan versus LeBron James. Everybody's talking about this particular debate. I had a debate with Brandon about it on the Man Hour show. Really, to me, these two guys are so close now, and it keeps getting closer and closer every year, especially every year that LeBron wins a championship. So I just did an article basically outlining these are the positives for Michael, these are the positives for LeBron, no negatives for either one, and kind of like you decide. Because I hate tearing down one guy to build up the other.
I as well. I do hate that as well. And, I think it's kind of it's a double-edged sword. So when you say, well, LeBron's lost 6 finals, well, you got to get to 10 to lose 6, and win 4. So, I mean, that's obviously a positive to be able to get to 10. Like you said, there's positives in each side. It's almost an era argument at this point. Which guy did you grow up watching? Because obviously, and I say the old heads, I'm 33, and you're 38, or 40, whatever, however old you are. We're not old, but, that's kind of more era was Michael than LeBron. And so we kind of fall right in the middle, or at least I do. And, I'm split kind of down the middle, like you said. It gets closer and closer every year. So it's tough to see a future where LeBron doesn't pass MJ.
It is tough, depending on how long he continues to play. I don't lend any credence to the whole 6-0, 6 finals, 6 wins, because LeBron also never lost in the first round. And he's been to 10 finals. And I think getting there on 10 times is impressive. I mean, you have to, even if you went 0-10, just getting there 10 times is ridiculously impressive.
Exactly. And like you said, the not losing in the first round, I mean, that's huge. Like that's massive. And nobody ever kind of throws that out against MJ, it was his rookie year and things. Well, LeBron brought his team to the playoff, and things like that with a scrub ass Cavs team and made it to the finals with a team that you probably could have started on if went in your heyday. So let's be real. I mean, I love them both. I know you fall with, they're not even the GOATs. So, right. And I know you probably had to throw that in the article somewhere.
It's at the very end. Yeah.
Of course, I knew it. Not to spoiler alert the article, but yeah, we won't say who it is. But if you're friends of the show, you obviously know who Wayne has as his number one.
Yeah, because that's a whole nother blog I could write.
And I think you have, actually, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I could get more in depth on the statistics, though.
Yeah, I'm sure you could.
So that's all I really had pre-news. So let's get into the news, which is everybody's favorite section here. Okay.
The news. You didn't do it.
Yeah, it's close. So the first thing I want to say about the news is the news, believe it or not, is brought to you by Invader Coffee. This is a partner of Belly Up Sports. They have this coffee drink, Invader Coffee. It is actually veteran-owned, this business, and they make organic. It's all organic. It's all, free trade farms. It's air-roasted. And they got a couple different blends. You've got rum blend. You've got FSU blend, Black Heart. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not a big coffee drinker myself, but what I do know is that if you visit, invadercoffee.com to their website, you enter the code BELLYUP, 15% off the entire order. So basically, if you're going to spend the money on the coffee anyways, why spend full price? I don't care if someone's giving me a 15% coupon anywhere I go. I'm using it.
100%. And I'll tell you what, folks, I'll let you know here in about a week or two how good the coffee is. I'm getting it. I'm going to order it up. We're going to try it out. My lady's a coffee fiend. So we'll let you know ASAP. I'm sure it's fantastic. So you got to get that 15% off. I mean, that's a deal. I can smell the savings.
It smells just like Folgers, except better. All right. So the first bit of news that we have, Sully should be excited about this. The World Series is still going on. Last night, the Dodgers take Game 5 to go up 3-2. Game 4, though, you were crazy excited about that whole debacle, right?
I mean, Game 4 was obviously bonkers. It was angels in the outfield type stuff. And then it holds a special close to my heart. Brett Phillips, it went to my high school, graduated years behind me, 7 years behind me. But one of my younger friends is real good friends with him. And obviously just a part of that community, and for him to do it, for his hometown team and things like that is amazing. I mean, it was just a Cinderella story, that moment. I mean, the guy's got 2 hits all postseason, I think. It was just incredible. It was incredible.
Now the series has gone Dodgers, Rays, Dodgers, Rays, Dodgers. It seems pretty back and forth, pretty close. I know they're playing a game every single day. Do you think the Rays take Game 6 and it'll be a 7-game series?
I do, mostly because of the pitching matchup. We got a break tonight, and the game will be tomorrow. But I think we got Snell against – right now they got Gonsolin again. I don't know if they're going to stick with Gonsolin. We'll see. I think it'd be smarter for them to throw Walker Buehler and to try to close it out in Game 6. Kershaw only threw 85 pitches. Throw him out again in Game 7 if you need to, and then run like a Kershaw, Dustin May kind of, 3 innings, and get your 6 innings right there from your starters. That's probably what I would do. I hope they don't, because obviously I think we have the pitching matchup advantage over Gonsolin if we start Snell.
I did see an LA fan asking this, and you paid $27 million for Joe Kelly. Why is he not coming in the 8th?
Because he's not pitching well at the moment. That whole bullpen really isn't pitching well. They got to pick and choose who they bring in and kind of pick their spots, because that's where we're making a lot of our, damage is out of that bullpen. We're crushing their bullpen.
All right. So obviously great series. And I think the ratings too, they said the ratings for the World Series has been higher than the NBA finals. Although I think the NBA came out to debunk that thing, that their virtual views or something like that was record highs. That didn't count towards the ratings. But still, I mean, baseball could be doing the same thing, although they're kind of old school, so maybe not. But their ratings, television-wise, are better than the NBA Finals.
I mean, yeah, it's been an incredible series. And, I mean, who doesn't like an underdog story? Let's be real. I think it's Mookie and Kershaw. Yeah, I think it is. The two of them make up the entire Rays payroll. So, I mean, it's a lot of fun to watch and to see this series and what we're doing. Randy Arozarena is obviously a stud. I mean, he's now the career postseason leader, the all-time record leader. He is now the all-time record leader in hits in the postseason and home runs in the postseason. Randy Arozarena. Learn that trivia question in 10 years, because nobody will know that name.
Well, unless he turns out to be
Well, yeah, I mean, even in 20 years, then people will forget. It's like you assume it's going to be somebody crazy, and then obviously he may turn out to be a god. Who knows? The way he's hitting in the postseason, it looks like he's going to be.
Well, we did some trivia, and who holds the record for the most hits in a major league season?
Did we do that one? I mean, I would assume Pete Rose.
Ichiro Suzuki.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Was it 276?
Yeah, something.
Yeah. It's something around that number. Good for him. Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, this is 27 in a postseason's bonkers, 9 home runs in the postseason. The guy's hitting 300 against righties and 386 against lefties. He's just crushing the baseball. It's just fun to watch. We're stealing home or trying to steal home. Did you see that?
I did see that. Well, I saw a picture of it, still frames, but I didn't see the result or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, we were called out. It was close. It was a bang-bang, but we were called out. But you got to love it. We got to be aggressive. We got to try and steal runs where we can get them. But, it's tough, too, because I feel like, and I'm biased. I'm a Rays fan, I guess. But I feel like every close call is going the Dodgers' way, and that's extremely frustrating. But, that's kind of how big market versus small market, stuff goes.
The next bit of news we have is the NBA coaching carousel is going round and round. Stan Van Gundy has been hired as the Pelicans head coach. He is a player's coach. Seems to make sense with a young team to have a guy in there who's very player-friendly. I would have rather gone with more of a college coach type mentality, because these guys are young. You can still impress on them. You don't have to have a player's coach with guys who are 19, 20 years old. Meanwhile, his brother, who's a little bit more of the kind of drill sergeant type, is being interviewed for the Rockets. I believe he was the Rockets head coach at one point, but he's being interviewed there as the Rockets head coach. I don't like that hire. I don't like the hire of Jeff Van Gundy for any position.
Either do I. I don't like that one whatsoever, especially in Houston. I don't think him and Russell Westbrook and James Harden would fit in at all together. I think that would be a real clash of personalities. On the flip side, Stan in New Orleans is a match made in heaven, I think. I think he's going to get the best out of Zion in that offense. I think he's going to make it fun. I think he understands what they are, which isn't a top 4 seed. You know what I mean? And let's have fun. Let's grow. If we make the playoffs as a 7 or 6 seed, fantastic. That's amazing. Obviously he's going to believe they have the talent to, but I think it's more of just, hey, let's make sure these kids have a good mindset, that they don't get mentally down on themselves, because that's the only thing that's going to stop Zion right now, is if he hits a mental block or if he gets injured.
See, when I look at that Pelicans roster and I see Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, JJ Redick, what I think is Mike D'Antoni would be match made in heaven for that team.
I mean, yeah, I think he's going to get a little tough to hire just because, his recent failures in Houston. I mean, that team was essentially set up to win, I think, and he failed multiple times. He doesn't have very many successes, outside of Phoenix, and that miracle run with Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire are those miracle runs. And, I just think Stan's the hotter name right now. But I agree. I mean, I think Mike D'Antoni's a perfect fit for any team that already plays decent defense.
And the next bit of news here is something that is, again, close to your heart. Antonio Brown is a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I felt like this was written all over the place. It was going to happen for a couple reasons. One, everybody and their cousin who's a free agent wants to play with Tom Brady. I'm actually surprised Le'Veon Bell didn't go there. And then two, Antonio Brown and Tom Brady are very romantic with each other. They just love each other. And so it just seemed like it was naturally he was going to go to Tampa Bay. I still personally, if I'm a general manager, I don't care how much Tom likes the guy. I wouldn't touch Antonio Brown with a 10-foot pole.
I agree, except I actually think this is one of the more perfect spots for AB because of those reasons. Also, the key thing that set it off for me, that the moment I knew we were going to do it, was we randomly restructured Ali Marpet's contract, and the day before we signed AB, and I was like, 100% we're signing AB. Is why would we make the random cap room for no apparent reason? So I knew we were going to get him, but I think it's the perfect situation because of Tom Brady. One, he demands so much respect, and he gets it. Two, they're already kind of friends. And then three, Bruce Arians will not take any shit. If he doesn't like what AB's doing, he'll cut him in 2 seconds. He's already come out and said, fit in or get out is the exact quote that he said. I don't think he's going to have any issue cutting him in a second if he acts out. So I think that's kind of why it's the perfect fit. Plus, I think he's going to get all kinds of touches. So,
well, I was going to say, Bob Kraft and Bill Belichick cut ties with him after one game, and they still owed him $8.5 million. So they didn't really care about his crap either. But his crap wasn't on the field. By all accounts, he was a great teammate in the locker room and whatnot. It was just that you're texting your baby mama, who you're going to court with over abuse charges, telling her to shut her mouth or she's going to get it or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You just can't. Do that.
And that's part of fitting in and getting in. You got to make sure that you follow the NFL model and be a good face for the shield, essentially, for as pandering as it sounds. But, you kind of have to be. And I think he'll fall in line. I really do. I think he understands he's got a shot to win a title here. We've got the number one rated defense right now, and our offense is scoring over 30 points a game. Outside of Pittsburgh, I don't really see a team that challenges us right now. So, it's early. It's very, very, very early. But I'm just saying right now in the season, I think it's us and Pittsburgh, and then obviously the Chiefs fighting up there.
Well, speaking of the Chiefs, and we mentioned it before, Le'Veon Bell signs with the Chiefs. He is their backup running back now to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think this is a fantastic signing for him. And what I like is that basically he did it just saying, I want to win a Super Bowl. This is the team I think I have the best chance to win a Super Bowl with. I'm sure he could have gone somewhere else and got more money to be a more premier back. But I think he gets his ring here. If he shows that he can still hit the holes, they weren't opening up holes for him in New York. So, he didn't have a chance to show off anything. But Kansas City will open up holes. So if he can show that he can hit those holes like he did in Pittsburgh, I think he can finish up this year, potentially get that Super Bowl ring, and then still get paid while the Jets are paying him as well.
Kind of. I think it's a great fit more because of Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy and what they can do creatively on offense and how versatile Le'Veon Bell is. I mean, shit, by week 14, 15, 16 in the playoffs, he may be their starting slot receiver. Like, no lie. Like, he legit may be their starting slot wide receiver. He's just that good, and they can be that creative. He's also, I heard, there's from both sides, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell have both come out and said Le'Veon Bell contacted Clyde Edwards-Helaire and was like, hey, look, I'm interested in coming there. I don't want you to feel threatened. I'm not here to take your job. We're going to work together. And it was essentially a great teammate before he was even a teammate, which obviously you love to hear. I agree. I think this guy's all in to win a Super Bowl and to essentially prove he's not a failed player at this point.
Well, because he's still only like 26, 27 years old, which I know running backs have a shorter life, but he's still got 3-4 years before he really is dead as a running back.
I agree. And especially, too, with him, like Darren Sproles was able to be a receiving and third down back way later in his career. I think Le'Veon Bell is, the same receiving ability, if not more. I think he has better receiving ability. So I think he can stretch his career out a little longer. He just has to swallow the pride pill, which it feels like he has now, and maybe become a secondary option in a third down back, which is scary. I mean, scary.
Continued NFL moves. Yannick Ngakoue gets traded to the Baltimore Ravens for, I believe, a third-round pick. And I didn't love Ngakoue going to the Vikings. I just didn't really love the fit there. And I know that on the other side they had Hunter, who's been sick or whatever. But I just didn't love the fit in Minnesota. I think Yannick Ngakoue in Baltimore, we talk about matches made in heaven. I mean, that's incredibly heaven for him.
It's not fair. That's not fair. It was a third and a fifth. So they essentially, that's what they traded a second and a fifth. They got back a third and a fifth. So it wasn't a failed, essential trade. I mean, it is, but it wasn't, and then Danielle Hunter's now out for the season. It looks like Minnesota's just in a trash can. I think he tore his pec or something. Danielle Hunter, not to get the conversation off Yannick, but Danielle Hunter tore his pec, and they're about to have to make him probably the highest paid player not named Aaron Donald on the defensive side of the football field, or let him go because it's his contract year. So that's going to be a whole new issue. But Baltimore, the rich get richer. They always seem to do this. They got Calais Campbell on the cheap too, and he's a monster and a perfect fit for them. They're just, Lamar Jackson is, hate to say I told you so, but he is what I said he was. And, they just don't look great. And I think they're vulnerable to be beaten by a lot of teams.
Awesome. And this definitely helps bolster a defense that I think is already scary.
Yeah, for sure. And the real thing is I think they knew they needed it. That's why they went ahead and made this move. Because Pittsburgh looks great. Kansas City obviously looks good and beat Baltimore already. So I think they know they got to step it up.
The next bit of NFL news we have here, kind of a thing that broke today. Odell Beckham Jr. done for the season with a torn ACL. Bad news for Cleveland. They weren't really playing great anyways. And Odell Beckham Jr., while he's been in Cleveland, has only been a shadow of what he was in New York. But it's still, you're losing. He's still your number one receiver, and he's down.
Yeah. And just kind of the way they were using him more, I think, was opening it up more. Like, obviously, the game where Jarvis Landry threw in the Dallas Cowboy game, kind of he blew up a little. But I don't know. I think they've got a lot of talent out there. Jarvis Landry's a really good player, and Njoku's back. Donovan Peoples-Jones had an insane catch, and the guy's just an athletic monster. I talked about him coming out. If he can ever refine his skills and be a receiver, he's going to be scary good. I don't know, and I still think they're just going to rely on the run game, personally. Obviously, it hurts missing Odell, but I don't think this team was ever really a contender anyway, just right on the cusp. So, I still think they are there.
Yeah, he's the guy that over the past 2 or 3 seasons has been brought up in, trade talk. Like, could he be traded? And obviously now that he's hurt, he's not going to get traded before the trade deadline. But it could be an off-season thing where has Odell Beckham Jr. played his last game as a Cleveland Brown?
I think he may have. I I just don't know how great of a fit he is there, which is weird because him and Jarvis Landry love each other, and Jarvis Landry's an all-in guy. You could tell he loves playing in Cleveland and, things like that. I'm not really sure. Odell Beckham's issue, I think, is all mental. You know what I mean? If his quarterback's playing perfect ball and throwing him 10 balls, he's the best teammate on the planet. If he's not getting open and things like that and not catching balls, he's a cancer. So I don't know.
See, I kind of like the fit of, he seems very Hollywood. And so I like the fit of maybe him in the Chargers, LA Chargers.
Ooh, I like him in San Francisco. Okay. I think he'd be a really good fit in that offense, in the Shanahan offense, where it's just schemes to get guys open and then let them run after the catch. But in that wide open offense in Kansas City with Justin Herbert throwing the ball all over the field, I mean, as much as I was right about Lamar Jackson, I've been pretty wrong about Justin Herbert. So
we'll get into that. The last bit of NFL news I have before we start getting into scores from Week 7. Positive note, Ron Rivera has had his final cancer treatment. So really excited for that. I do hope that we get to a day someday where we don't even have cancer treatments. We'll just have a cure or something like that. I think everybody we know has been touched somehow, some way by cancer. My mom lost her battle to cancer. Her dad, my grandfather, lost his battle to cancer. It takes too many people. And while my mom was young at 53, what really kills me is seeing it take kids, like the 8 to 10-year-old kids, like the same, that crushes me, especially being a dad of like a 12-year-old. So congratulations, Ron Rivera. Again, I really hope this leads to more and more and more stories like this, across the board.
I mean, fantastic. These are the stories you want to hear in sports. These guys where they overcome these things because, like you said, cancer is, the worst. We all know somebody that's been affected by it, and unfortunately, I wish we did have a cure. We arguably may, and they're just hiding it from us. But you'd love to see these kind of stories, and we love to see Ron, healthy and back again.
So the first game of Week 7 that I have here is the Thursday night game. It is the Eagles and the Giants. We talk about dumpster fires versus each other. 22-21. Some of the notes I have from this game here, obviously Carson Wentz, which is Jesse's favorite player. He throws for 359 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception, runs for a touchdown as well. So basically he accounted for all of their points.
QBR over 80 again.
Yeah, so just a solid play from him when he's not being sacked 12 times. The thing that I thought was interesting in this game, I have talking points for every one of these games, everybody, so stick around if you're with us. Is Travis Fulgham. The guy was a fifth. He had 5 receptions for 73 yards. He's a 6th-round pick out of Old Dominion. Runs a 4.58, not blazingly fast. He is 6'2", which is nice. It's kind of like that, prototypical.
Perfect. Yeah.
But over the last 3 games, 13 targets, 10, 11, 10 receptions, 6'5", 152 yards, 75 and 73. I feel like they may have found a steal and could potentially be their number 1 receiver next year if he continues to kind of, like a Terry McClellan, kind of just keep climbing.
Not only that, Greg Ward is playing extremely well also. He has his 2nd straight game with a touchdown catch, and he's performing very well. Again, I think this is more on Carson Wentz than it is on Travis Fulgham and Greg Ward. We bashed Carson Wentz, enough, I think, even though we both love him. I'm going to give him some credit here. I think he's playing some great football these last 4 games. Obviously, Travis Fulgham is a great player. He's smooth. Going back, I hadn't even graded him, but you go back and you look, and I look at what other people had said about him, and he couldn't get separation and things like that. And in the NFL, he's getting separation on these guys, but he's also making incredible contested catches, and that's where he's winning right now.
So I read a scouting report about him because I wanted to go back into the draft and see. They do have some tape on him. So he was invited to Indianapolis, which is good. But out of Old Dominion, you don't hear a lot of guys. He did run a 4.58. But the scouting report I read on him is that he does create space because he runs exceptionally clean routes.
Well, he does run clean routes, but so the 4.58 and the 3-cone shuttle was an extremely poor time too. So he's not like an agile guy, but he runs precise routes and he makes great contested catches. Which if you have good hands and run good routes, you're probably going to succeed in the NFL.
The next game I have here is before we get.
You are not skipping over Daniel Jones getting sniped
I did skip over. So yeah, I didn't actually see the play. I've seen 1,000 memes of him falling on his face.
Bro, Chuck Norris was in the top and just pinged him out. Not just that. So he is the second fastest clock speed in the entire NFL so far.
I saw that. Like Tyreek Hill, he's like
Tyreek Hill, and it's by 0.06. He's faster than any other player other than Tyreek Hill in the NFL right now. Now, most players don't get a 50-yard clear chance to sprint. And we'll talk about it from last night. The DK Metcalf play, I want to look and see how fast DK Metcalf was running because I bet you it was faster than all of it.
It's pretty close. And I do have DK Metcalf in our game as well when we get to that point. It's actually the last game because it was a Sunday night game.
Yeah.
I do want to go over that as well. The next game I have, because like I said, before we get to my nightmare, let's get to your dream here. It's the Buccaneers, 45-20, over the Las Vegas Raiders. Let me just take a look here. We do have a quote from David Stanley. Says, Danny Dimes versus DK Metcalf, 100-yard dash.
Hey, my dude, David Stanley. What's up, man? Damn, Dave, I ain't talking. So I've known David for, ever, decades now. That's what's up, man. I'd love to see that. Danny Dimes is sneaky athletic, man. Sneaky athletic.
So the Bucs here, we got obviously Tom Brady, 33 of 45, 369 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. David Carr, who's my guy, he doesn't play horribly. He throws a pick, 285, fairly accurate as usual. Josh Jacobs, 10 carries for 16 yards. I think it's safe to say my number one pick in my fantasy draft this year is dogging it because he's had 2 good games all season and he's been crap. I mean, not even mediocre. He's been crap like the rest of the season. What is going on with Josh Jacobs?
I think it's more that offensive line. They went from being – I'm pretty sure they lost Richie Incognito. I'm about 99.9% sure. And he was the key cog to that offensive line, it appears. And they just can't move anybody off the ball anymore. Now, you're never going to run on Tampa. It's just not going to happen. Nobody really runs on us. But, I mean, like you said, he's had a strew of bad games. And honestly, I think, Gruden wants to throw the ball a little more, I think. So I think that's got a lot to do with it also. I mean, only 10 carries.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is Nelson Aguilar, who had 5 catches, 107 yards and a touchdown, he's been looking like a pretty decent pickup. I think he's had a touchdown like the last 3 or 4 games. He's getting in the end zone.
Yeah, he's playing pretty solid. I mean, they're scheming guys open, which John Gruden's going to do. He's a smart offensive coach. David Carr's a smart guy back there. I'm going to start giving him the credit he deserves. He's playing like a Pro Bowl quarterback. He's got a chance to break the accuracy record this year, the completion percentage record. He's playing great football. I'd love to see him get a run game and some help. And obviously that defense is just bad too.
And one of the stories I have 2 stories for this game. One of them is Scotty Miller, 6 catches, 109 yards and a touchdown. Scotty Miller, is he the new Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, 6th round pick, 5'9" white guy that just like goes across the middle? And Brady loves those guys. I mean, could this be like his safety blanket?
He was until we signed Antonio Brown. Because I don't see much space on the field with Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, and now Rob Gronkowski finding his form again and getting, back-to-back games with touchdowns, back-to-back games with, I think, 6 or plus targets here. So I think, touches are going to be hard to find for Scotty Miller now. But, I mean, obviously the guy's super talented and, it's a benefit when you've got to put so much attention on Mike Evans and on Chris Godwin, and then you get these safety and linebacker matchups that Scotty Miller's able to exploit.
And then the other storyline I have here is Tom Brady, who I was looking at his stats. He is on pace for 4,352 yards, 65% completion percentage. What's that?
No, keep going because I just want to make sure I was right about this at the beginning of the season, which I was.
Nobody was questioning you. We just didn't like you.
Yeah.
So he's basically on pace for his 2018 stats there, which is the last time he won the Super Bowl. And then, of course, he's on pace for 41 touchdowns, which would be the second most he's ever thrown in his career. And by the way, he's 43 years old, which we saw Max Kellerman came out and said, "Sorry, Tom. I bet you didn't fall off a cliff."
Yeah, he must have never fell off that cliff. Yeah, I mean, I get to say I told you so kind of a lot this episode. That's awesome. I'll eat my crow later on with the Chargers, but right now I'm gonna numb this up. I mean, I'm pretty sure those are dead on what I said he was gonna hit. I said he was gonna hit 4,500 yards, 40 touchdowns, and you guys said no way. Obviously, there's some fan bias, but I essentially thought this would happen, and it looks like it's gonna. Byron Leftwich may be a hot name here coming up soon. I think he's running an incredibly good offense and getting guys really open, but you don't know how much of that is Tom Brady at this point. So, but obviously it's probably going to get him a job.
I will say that is one area where I was wrong and you were right. Like I said, the whole Tom Brady, I knew he was going to do well. I didn't think 40 touchdowns because, like I said, he's never thrown 40 touchdowns in his career except for once when he had Randy Moss and he threw 50. Other than that, he's never thrown 40. So the idea that at 43 years old, now he's going to have the second best passing touchdowns of his career, I said, even with Mike Evans and Godwin, no way. And it looks like I was wrong because that's what he's on pace for. So.
And the wild part is we're still running the football incredibly well. Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette combined had over 100 yards. And so we're still averaging 100 yards, or I think it's 90 some odd yards a game. So, I mean, we're going to be tough to beat, man.
Deep sigh as we go into the 49ers and the Patriots.
I get to say it again, man. I'm so excited.
33-6, the 49ers absolutely demolish the Patriots. There's really nothing positive I can pull out of this other than Jimmy Garoppolo, who went 20 of 25 for 277. He did have 2 picks. One of those wasn't Hail Mary at the end of the half, so I don't even really count that one. He didn't have any touchdowns. Stidham comes in after, I think, the fourth quarter with 14 minutes to go. He goes 6 of 10, 64 yards. Interception, which this one, so we talked last time he came in and played, he had the one interception, which was tipped by Julian Edelman, should have caught it. The second one was actually a really good read. It was just too short of a throw. This was a bad interception. It was a bad read and a bad throw, and it just bad. But he was still 6 of 10, which is 60%. And that kind of goes to my talking point for this game, since all I really have is it time to make the switch over to Jarrett Stidham? Because Cam Newton, obviously, with 98 yards and 3 interceptions, is not the future quarterback of this franchise. Stidham may not be either, but you're not going to know unless you give him some snaps.
Exactly. And that's where I think they're at as a franchise. Now, we talked earlier about rebuilding the New England Patriots. And you throw the word rebuild out there, and people think you're blowing up things and starting over from scratch. And New England doesn't have to do that. New England's getting Patrick Chung back. They're getting Dante Hightower back. They need to beef up their offensive line, and they need to figure out their quarterback position. Now, you can do that this year by playing Jarrett Stidham. If he turns out to be a ball player, well, boom, then you've got a problem solved, and you put all your efforts into fixing the offensive line. Cam Newton's shown this is why only one team wanted him, and why it's tough to take a year off of football and play, especially when you rely on your legs. It's just not the same. You're slower.
Yeah, and when I watch him throw the ball, he's got a really weird motion where the ball comes over his head, and it's like a weird-looking throw. And that's the other thing, too, is with Stidham, when I watched Stidham play, is he throws such a tight spiral, and every ball he throws is just, it's on a line, it's a straight, it looks beautiful. Cam Newton's ball does not look good. It looks better than Brady's. Brady, I hated watching throw the deep ball. But Cam Newton throws just an ugly football. And so I'm hoping after finally 7 weeks, I've been kind of campaigning for this from week 1. Put Stidham in. See, even if you lose all the rest of your games, I wouldn't even make the switch. Just fucking leave him in, let him lose all the rest of the games. But at least you know at that point.
Exactly. At least you know what you have at that point, and you know you can move on and figure out your future. And let's be real, you've been on the Jarrett Stidham train since August, not week 1. But, I mean, that's essentially where they're at. And you can't go wrong. I mean, I hate to say I told you so, but you're going to be lucky if you get 6 wins this year.
Well, they're halfway there.
Yeah, and they're not going to get any more than that. It's not trending up, Wayne.
The next game we have is the Saints 27-24 over the Carolina Panthers. The Saints improved to 4-2. The Panthers to 3-4. Drew Brees 29 of 36, 287, 2 touchdowns. He runs for a touchdown. The thing that kind of blows my mind, we'll get into the talking point in this game in a minute, but Teddy Bridgewater goes 23 of 28. He only misses 5 passes, 254, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He runs for 10 yards, nothing major there. And like I said, I'll talk about Bridgewater in a second. Alvin Kamara, 14 carries, 83 yards, 8 catches, 65 yards. I think we can just expect, anywhere from 150 to 200 yards a game out of Alvin Kamara.
Yes.
And then, DJ Moore has 2 touchdowns. The first talking point I have before getting into Bridgewater is when are we getting back Christian McCaffrey and Michael Thomas? Because both teams were missing their best player. That's
what I'm wondering here at this point. Michael Thomas now has had a litany of issues. He was held out one game for getting into an argument, and then now he's got a hamstring issue. And I mean, it looks like Michael Thomas is coming to become a kind of a diva. Christian McCaffrey, I assume he'll be back, if not next week, the week after. But, I don't think with Carolina there's any rush to get him back, because what's he going to really do for you? You're going to go from 4 wins to 6 wins, you know what I mean? So it honestly probably hurts you a little bit if he comes back and your team does better. But I'd love to see him back, just because they're, like you said, they're the face of the team essentially.
We did get a comment here from Kyle Walter Sweck, who says, some wide receivers, those Patriots wide receivers, are the worst in the league by far. Yeah.
That's right. I forgot. We didn't even mention that they're rebuilding in some wide receiver. They got N'Keal Harry and aging Julian Edelman. We both love N'Keal Harry. I think obviously Wayne a little more. I think N'Keal can be a solid number 2. But Schweck, by the way, what's good, dog? We missed you at the fantasy drafts. Love you, fam. But yeah, I agree. And not to get off of Carolina and New Orleans here, but I actually think New Orleans looks bad, man. If you're having close games with Carolina here, you're not going to contend with the big dogs of the NFC East, I don't think. Or the NFC. I say the big dogs of the NFC East.
Getting back to Carolina, the other talking point I have here is Teddy Bridgewater. It's 23 of 28. Great accuracy. He's actually 4th in accuracy in the NFL, 70.9%. So 71% of his passes is completing. He is 8th in total yards, 1,676. He's got 6 touchdowns on the season. Now, he's got, Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuels. Matt Rule is supposed to be a genius offensive mind. And yet, why does Teddy Bridgewater, who I think has all the talent in the world and seems to be showing it in every aspect except for putting the ball in the end zone?
It really is kind of a conundrum. They're playing solid defense too. Like, to only give up 27 against New Orleans isn't a bad outing. It's really hard to explain. I wish I could explain it to you. I don't. They're obviously just not, converting in the red zone. I know turnovers have been a little bit of an issue for them, but they just need to. They're still a very young team. They're in full rebuild mode. So they drafted all players. Every player they drafted last year was on defense. So their offense they kind of just rolled with, and it's showing. It's a little shaky right now.
See, and I feel like they have the offensive weapons, particularly when McCaffrey gets back.
Agreed.
To do some stuff. It's just weird that they aren't scoring. I know, it's just weird.
I agreed. It's something that's kind of not able to explain just off the top.
The Bills beat the Jets. Surprise, surprise. 18-10, but they did not cover the spread because I think the spread was like 11.5 or something. So good job, Jets. 18-10. But I will say this: the Jets scored a touchdown and the Bills did not. The Bills kicked 6 field goals. So a little bit of a positive if you want to take something out of it. If you're a Jets fan, which hopefully you are not, because that is a sad life.
What's worse, being a Cowboys fan or a Jets fan?
Oh, boy. You know what? I'm going to say Jets fan because the Jets sucked when the Cowboys were winning 3 Super Bowls, and now they still suck. So at least the Cowboys have something they can kind of.
That's true. You haven't been able to have Jet success since Namath, right?
Yeah, I don't know when. How far back?
Yeah.
But yeah, looking at this game here, Jared Allen, 30 of 43, 307, no touchdowns. He does run for 61 yards. Josh Allen. And then Sam Darnold, which is really my talking point of this game, if there's going to be a talking point for this massacre of a game. 12 of 23, 120 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Obviously, the Jets have gone. They've cut Le'Veon Bell. Nobody would trade for him, so they cut Le'Veon Bell. He's gone. They traded Jamal Adams right off the start of the season. it seems like they're in full tank mode to get Trevor Lawrence. And if you're going to do what Miami did, because Miami traded all of their good players a couple years ago, just all of them. And now they've got just 20 first-round picks in the next few years. And they just kind of draft, which seems to be brilliant now. It looks stupid at the time, but brilliant now. It seems like the Jets should probably do that now. Get Sam Darnold a new home because you're killing him, And my question is, do they move Sam Darnold before the trade deadline? Probably not, because I'm thinking, what is his value at this point? It's an all-time low. He was a third overall pick 2 years ago.
Yeah, I still would think the consensus around the league is that he could play some decent football. Obviously, you're never getting a first for him. You may find a team to give up a second if they really love the guy, but I would think it's more around a third. You could probably still get a second for him, though. I'm trying to think of where even – a team like Detroit or something like that maybe, or a team like Atlanta, because I think Matt Ryan's kind of done and out the door. Somebody like that who may not have the opportunity to draft a stud this year, but then can still get a highly rated prospect who's still got a ton of talent for the cheap, I think might be a decent little fit.
Yeah. Just take a look at a couple comments we have coming in. Kyle again says, the Jets covered.
Shockingly. I think that's their first couple of us. Yeah, he's a Cowboys fan, too.
Well, see, like I said, Kyle, I mean, you can at least look back to when Emmitt Smith and Jay Novacek and Alvin Harper, Michael Irvin, and Troy Aikman were there, and they're winning all these Super Bowls. Like Dan was saying, the Jets haven't won since Joe Namath. So
the Cowboys just lost to the Washington football team.
Oh, yeah. Oh, believe me, I know how bad they are.
That's boy, that's pretty bad.
Speaking of which, if you're here's an idea and we'll get to the Cowboys in a second. But Sam Darnold, what about the Cowboys for him?
I mean, depending on how cheap, I think that's actually a really good fit. Or even I saw somebody, Brandon Combs from the All Access Network. I think Jameis Winston might be a decent fit to that team too, if I'm being honest. You put Jameis Winston on the Cowboys and let him slang that tater all over the field to those weapons. What's the worst that could happen? Literally, what's the worst that could happen? I think that may be a decent little fit. But yeah, Sam Darnold to the Cowboys makes a lot of sense also.
Well, I think Soup Boss might have put on there. I thought a better fit because I think Jameis Winston is going to take over as the starter next year in New Orleans, and why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah.
But I think the Cowboys. How about this one that got thrown out there? Again, I don't think it's going to happen, but it makes sense. Is Ryan Fitzpatrick to the Cowboys?
Yeah, I don't think the Dolphins will let go of Fitzpatrick though.
No, but I think that makes sense because he can go be the starter there. He throws for a lot of yards. You give him all the weapons.
I'll tell you what, they're a playoff team if it's Ryan Fitzpatrick as a quarterback.
All you got to do is go 5-11. You'll win the.
I didn't need you to jump on my logic right there, and people would have. You know how many people I would have argued, and I've been like, all they had to do was win 6 times.
Oh, man. Let's see. Kyle says, "I like Darnold to the Steelers and Winston to the boys." I like that. I really do think Winston's going to take over for Drew Brees next year. I think it's just the perfect situation for him.
Winston to the Steelers isn't. I mean, Darnold to the Steelers. The Steelers is another team. All those guys with that aging quarterback. Man, actually, the Steelers would be nice because with all those weapons there, they got a good offensive line. You put a kid with that much arm talent behind that team, they might have not a big drop off if Ben leaves.
The next game we have here is the Cleveland Browns 37-34 shootout against the Cincinnati Bengals. Baker Mayfield looks great, 22 of 28, 297, 5 touchdowns. If he could play Cincinnati 16 times a year, he'd be a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Did you see his second half, though?
No, I didn't see what was the second half.
His second half was 22 of 23 for 5 touchdowns. He didn't throw a single touchdown in the first half. And the one incompletion was he clocked a ball.
All right.
He balled out in the second half of that game, man. Now, granted, it's the Bengals, so.
I will say this. I'm a big Baker Mayfield fan, and I think he has all the talent in the world. Cleveland is a quarterback killer. I don't care how good of a quarterback you are. I know that there was a lot of talk around New England in that draft with Baker Mayfield. The Patriots had talked about moving up to the number 1 pick to take him. They love him. Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels are in love with Baker Mayfield, and they wanted to move up to number 1 to get him. I think it was just too steep And so once the price got too steep, they just we'll take Isaiah Wynn or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I love Baker. I think he reminds me a lot of Brett Favre. I said that coming up through the draft process. Reminds me a ton of Brett Favre. You just have to reel in his gunslinger a bit, but I mean, the guy's got the competitive drive to win ball games, and he's going to do that for you. You know, speaking of quarterbacks on that other side, that boy Joe Burrow is a ball player, man. He's going to be a stud.
406 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he ran for a touchdown.
He's so good. If you put a team around him, please, Cincinnati, please put a team around him. I want to see him succeed so much.
Well, I was going to actually bring up, he's the talking point I have, because we talked earlier on in different teams and how, you know, if your quarterback's dropping back 40 times a game, especially a rookie quarterback, that is bad. You are in trouble if your rookie quarterback's dropping back 40 times a game. So Joe Burrow is dropping back 41 times a game. To give you an idea, Peyton Manning's rookie year, which was incredible, he threw every time. You know, he was in Indianapolis. He dropped back 36 times a game. So he's actually passing more than Peyton Manning did. 270 yards a game to Peyton Manning's 234. So he's dusting him in yards. And 9 touchdowns to 5 picks. Peyton Manning had 26 touchdowns to 28 picks. Plus, Joe Burrow is completing 65% of his passes. Peyton Manning's rookie year, 56% of his passes.
Yeah, Joe looks the part. I mean, they just need to get a team around him. He looks like he's a legitimate player. I mean, he's going to be scary. He's going to be a problem in the NFL, and I love to see it. I really do love to see it. Him and Tyler Boyd, man, that connection looks good.
Well, the big problem I'm seeing when I'm looking at his stats is he is being sacked 4 times a game. And to give you an idea, we talk about it all the time. David Carr was sacked 4.7 times a game when his rookie year, and it destroyed his entire career. I mean, the guy was just nothing after his rookie year. Now, he wasn't throwing for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, you know, so a little bit different. But still, you can't have your quarterback get sacked 4 times a game.
No, you can't take that many hits a game. I'm pretty sure he's on pace to get, like you said, 72 sacks a season, which would be, I'm pretty sure nope, it's not. But still, I think that number's huge. It's insane. They've got to find a way to protect him. But again, they're a young football team. They're in a rebuild process too. We can't forget they had the number 1 pick last year. So let's see what they can do. If they can get a tackle or 2 in there, that team can be really good, man.
Now, we did mention it. The Washington football team beats the Dallas Cowboys 25-3, an absolute drubbing. The Washington, I believe they both are now in a tie for first place at 2-5 in that division.
Wouldn't Philly be in first? I think Philly's
2-4-1. Yeah,
yeah. As I say, Philly's in first at 2-4-1.
But yeah, so Andy Dalton, 75 yards passing for the game. Just awful. I mean, all the notes I have here are from the Redskins, the Washington football team. Terry McLaurin had 7 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown. So he's the note I have here is, last year he had 58 catches for 919 yards. This season he's on pace for 96 catches for 1,312 yards. Is he going to be a superstar?
I don't know about superstar, but he definitely looks the part as a number 1 receiver. He is crisp. I mean, that's just the perfect word to describe him. He is crisp. When he's at the top of his break, he's going to create separation, and he's crisp in and out of his breaks. He's crisp at the top of the point of attack. He's just crisp. I mean, he's good. He's really fun to watch, honestly. If you like watching wide receiver matchups, watch Terry McLaurin. He's so much fun to watch. He gets DBs spinning around. He's so good. I mean, when you have Kyle Allen throwing you the ball and you're still getting 1,300 yards, I mean, you've got to be getting open.
Kyle Walter Schecht's game of the week. Cowboys look so good.
What's rough with the Cowboys? It's the whole team now. It's you can't just point to one spot that you need to fix. I mean, the running game is atrocious and non-existent. What happened to Zeke? What happened to be a dominant running football team? What happened to having 3 All-Pros and the number 1 offensive line? Now, I know you lost Tyron Smith. I know you lost Travis Frederick. And I think you lost Zach Martin. So you lose 3 All-Pros, that's going to hurt. But I mean, you can't just lose your identity overnight, and I feel like they lost Dak, and they did that.
Yeah, well, and that kind of comes to, I like to throw out hypothetical situations, and let me throw this one out there. I don't think it's even close to remotely happening, but, we can all talk about it.
Let's love it.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy sucks. I mean,
he's awful. Just fire him already.
That's what I'm saying. Get rid of him, and I'm thinking you take, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Gallup, Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott when he gets healthy, right? And what about Josh McDaniels?
I knew you were going to say that. If you had a Josh McDaniels dick right next to you, you would just blow it all day long. That's all you would do. No, obviously it'd be a good fit. I don't think Josh McDaniels is a good head coach. I've said this 1,000 times. You can be a great coordinator and not a good head coach, and I think that's Josh McDaniels. I think when there's too much on his plate and he has too much to think about, he doesn't excel at what he does best, which is scheme and offense that's really tough to beat. I think that, there are a lot of head coaching options that I think would be better than Josh McDaniels, but I would love to see, why can't I think of his name right now? Clemson's head coach.
Oh, Dabo Swinney?
Dabo Swinney to coach the Cowboys.
All right. I guess.
I think that would be sick. Honestly, Urban Meyer coaching the Cowboys would be pretty dope too.
So Kyle, our Cowboys fan, says the coaching staff lost the locker room too, in my opinion, which is
exactly. Like we just agreed.
Him and Nolan are trash cans.
Yeah, it's just it seems like it's a fundamental, like the whole locker room is done. The whole team's kind of lost it. The defense is lost. They can't stop anybody. When you're allowing 25 to Washington, I mean that's just rough, which is shocking because I mean they've got talent up and down the board. So
the Packers 35-20 over the Texans. Again, no big surprise here. Texans dropped to 1-6. Packers improved to 5-1. Aaron Rodgers, 23 of 34, 283, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. How happy is Aaron Rodgers to have Devontae Adams back, who gets 13 catches for 196 yards and 2 touchdowns?
I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the MVP right now, right?
I would think so. That's kind of one of my talking points here.
Yeah, I think so. He's got to be thrilled. I mean, and Devontae Adams is, arguably a top 3 receiver. I saw you comment on something where somebody said something about like Julio, and you said no, Hopkins, and I agree. I think D-Hop is the best receiver in the league. But I think Devontae Adams is nipping at his heels for sure. I mean, it helps to have Aaron Rodgers throwing you the football, but he's still incredibly talented.
It does, and the stat I have here is that Aaron Rodgers, completing 65% of his passes this year, 276 yards per game, 13 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So I guess my question is over under for interceptions this year too.
I mean, he's threw 2 against Tampa.
Did he have 2? Oh, I thought it said 0 on the thing I was reading.
No, that must have been like in a certain quarter or stat or something, because I know he's got more than 13 touchdowns too.
Oh, okay. I must have just gotten faulty statistics.
Yeah, because I mean he's got 9 in 3 games. So because he's got 2 games with 8 or 2 games with 4, so you may have had a wrong stat. But yeah, he had 2 against Tampa. But over under he has 5, definitely under.
Okay, yeah.
I'm taking he rarely has like a ton of interceptions.
Well, I don't know if it was last season or the season before, but he's had seasons where he's had like 27 and 4 picks. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he does that honestly kind of consistently. And then Deshaun Watson's trash. I don't know what happened. Or they're not Deshaun Watson. The Texans are just trash. We don't need to talk about that.
Absolute garbage.
Yeah.
The Lions improved to 3-3. The Falcons dropped to 1-6. So the Falcons are kind of in that the Fields sweepstakes, and basically, but Matt Ryan, 31 of 42, 338 and a touchdown. Todd Gurley,
they find a new way to lose every game.
Yeah, well, weren't they ahead? Yeah, didn't they blow the lead again?
Yeah. To go on, to continue what you're talking about Todd Gurley, though. Todd Gurley scored a touchdown when he shouldn't have. They should have ran out the clock. There's just no situational awareness. It's wild.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns. Well, I think Todd Gurley, I was going to say, he's having a decent year. I thought he was all washed up, but he's actually having a pretty good year. I have to bring up your boy Calvin Ridley, who had 5 catches and 69 yards and a touchdown, who I should have taken, although A.J. Brown did give me some points this week. So.
A.J. Brown did ball. He had like a 78-yarder, so.
Yeah, I saw it happen. I was watching it when I was watching that game. But Julio, 8 receptions for 97 yards. One of my talking points here for the Lions, DeAndre Swift ends up 9 carries, 27 yards, 4 receptions, 21 yards. Child beater, 11 carries, 29 yards. So at what point can we just sit down the man with the switch who thinks he's a tough guy and put DeAndre Swift as your full-time starting running back?
I don't think they believe DeAndre Swift can be a full-time running back. I think that's clear at this point. I don't think they think he can handle the load of 20 carries a game. But, we'll see. I also think maybe they're just holding on to him. You don't want to kill your running back. Like we said, they already got a small shelf life. So you compound that by giving him 30 carries in their rookie season, and, that's just a risk of injury. But I think he clearly needs to get more touches.
Talking point, again, from Matt Ryan, he's completing 65% of his passes this year. He's averaging 300 yards per game. The statistic I had on him was 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, so 4-to-1 ratio. What more can he do? There's really nothing else. He's not turning the ball over. That's not why they're losing. He's doing everything he can possibly do. And I was like, is it time to move on from him? Do you stick with him? Because the problem is he's $18 million against your cap this year, but that becomes $40 in 2021.
Yeah, he will not be on the Falcons roster next year. I can pretty much guarantee that. They're not paying him $40 unless he restructures. They're not paying him $40 million. That will not happen. Like I said, they just find a new way to lose every week. It's just wild. It's just insane to watch this team crumble in different ways from that 28-3 game. Ever since that, they're just the epitome of just, here, hold my beer. Like, you think I can't lose this game? Just watch me do it. It's dumbfounding for me.
Well, and that's another trade thing that comes up is Julio Jones. I think in the last 2 years, it's like, what's going to happen with Julio? We got a trade deadline coming up. Is Julio going to get moved at the trade deadline? He's still productive, obviously, 8 catches for 97 yards. He is under contract through 2023 at $20 million per season, which I still think, for as good as he is, $20 million is not a bad deal for him. So if you get him for 3 years and $60 million, there's a market for him. But will the Falcons move on from Julio Jones before this trade deadline?
I'm not really sure. They're going to have to pay Calvin Ridley here soon, and they're going to have to give him a lot of money. So they got to worry about that. And then also they've got to worry about their quarterback that they're grooming next year. So if you get rid of Julio, then you lose kind of your 1-2 tandem that makes your team so deadly. I'd like to see him stick around. They get a guy like maybe a Justin Fields, and then, man, that's a scary offense, All
right. I also really like the rumors that are always around the Julio and the Patriots.
Well, yeah, of course. He fits on any team. Let's be real. Any team is instantly better with Julio Jones, and he'll still get you probably a first or a high second-round pick, maybe a second and a third, something like that. Maybe you ship a first and send back a third and a fifth or something. But, he's still an incredibly talented, insane, tough matchup. So,
well, we got a little bit crazy talking about Josh McDaniels to the Cowboys. So if we're going to get nuts, like Michael Keaton says in Batman, let's get nuts, right? How about Julio Jones to the Packers?
Wow. I like it a lot. I like it a whole lot, actually. I think that'd be a really good fit.
Yeah, and then you cross from Devontae Adams, it's just, what do you do?
That'd be stupid. God, what do you do? Especially if they don't have to give up a 1. If they can just ship a 2 or a 3, you know what I mean? That'd be such a good fit. Him in Baltimore too.
Oh, yeah.
I think would be a really good fit. Julio in Baltimore, I think would be an incredibly good fit.
Kyle says, I agree. I think they should move Julio. They probably won't, though.
Yeah, I don't think they will either. But, again, like you said, if the plan is to implode and rebuild, you've got to get the money or the value out of them while they're still worth anything. In a couple of years, if Julio's on the downswing and you get a 4th for him, then what? Then is it really worth it kind of thing? If you can still get a 1st or a 2nd for him, capitalize on that value.
You know what my favorite would be? This would be so perfect for Jets fans, right? Because right now, Jets fans are just clamoring like, you know what? We suck. We're going to lose every game by 25, but we're going to get Trevor Lawrence. He's coming to New York. What if the Jets mess around and win a football game at the end of the year and Atlanta gets the 1st overall pick?
Any one of these teams, they would be – if Atlanta gets the number 1 pick, they're man, they're good. I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence is the second he steps on a football field, he's better than half the quarterbacks in the NFL.
Right. And I'm saying if you're giving him Calvin Ridley and Gage and Julio, it's a good start.
Julio Jones and Todd Gurley, that's, like you said, a resurgent Todd Gurley. Now, their defense is still atrocious. They'd have to fix that side of the ball, too. But, yeah, and they're in an incredibly tough division. But, obviously, that's the start you want if you're Trevor Lawrence. You want that over the Jets. That's for fucking sure.
You're rooting for them to win one game and screw it up.
It's so hard. You're like, God damn it, Buffalo. Why'd you have to win that game?
All right, so the Steelers win 27-24 against the Titans. This was the game I was watching. It came on before the Patriots game, and I got to see A.J. Brown score the 70-something yard touchdown. And the Titans made a little bit of a comeback. They couldn't quite, because they were down 27-13 or 27-10, something like that. They made a little bit of a comeback. But looking over this game, Ben Roethlisberger does not play good. He has 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. So that doesn't look great there. Tannehill, 18 of 30, so not his usual 70% completion rate. So messy game for both the quarterbacks. Derrick Henry gets 75 yards. Basically, my question here was, looking at, Deontay Johnson had 9 receptions, 2 touchdowns. Juju Smith-Schuster had 9 catches for 85 yards. At the end of the season, he's an unrestricted free agent. He has not signed an extension with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We haven't heard any rumblings that he will sign an extension with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They could have still franchise tag him, and the franchise tag is only $18 million, so all day long. Although if I'm him for $18 million, I'm sitting out. But I mean, is Juju Smith-Schuster, is he going to make a deal with Pittsburgh, especially with Ben Roethlisberger continuing to decline? Is he going to want to stay there? Or is he going to move on?
I don't know if Pittsburgh is going to keep him. I think now with Pittsburgh, with the emergence of Chase Claypool, and then Deontay Johnson next to him, I don't know if they need to pay a receiver, $20 million, $22 million, and then have that kind of guy. I think they can make it do with Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, then find another guy, especially with all this talent that's coming in from the college level with the wide receiver position. It's kind of becoming more like the running back position where you can find really, really, really talented wide receivers in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th rounds, and they can be contributing starters. So I'm not entirely sure if they dish out the money to sign him.
All right. And that seems to be the feeling. I actually wanted to go back a couple of games here because we didn't bring it up when we were talking about the Bengals, but, 2 things. One, T. Higgins, another good game for him. 5 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown.
He does look like he has a nice relationship with Joe Burrow going.
So that's.
I think that's more Joe Burrow throwing him open, though.
It could be. Well, A.J. Green had 7 catches for 82 yards. And I was like, I didn't know A.J. Green was still playing in the NFL, but apparently he is. So if we talk about big-name wide receivers, he's obviously still productive. How about like an A.J. Green to the Packers? Because he probably only cost you a 5th-round pick.
I would snap that deal all day if I'm the Packers. I mean, the issue, though, is his cap space. He's a huge cap hit. So you'd have to figure out something, obviously, with Cincinnati where they'd have to pay some of the cap.
Or just renegotiate it when he gets there.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the main issue to hinder any deal right now.
Next game I have here on the docket, we've got the Chiefs 43-16 against the Broncos. This one was just absolute pounding. The Chiefs moved to 6-1. The Broncos are 2-4. Mahomes, he only has 200 yards passing, but he probably only played the first half of this game because it was just a nightmare disaster. Le'Veon Bell gets in there. We talked about that. He had 6 carries for 39 yards, so not too shabby there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 8 carries for 46. Like I said, the star players didn't play a whole lot of snaps. But the thing that I have here for the talking point in this game is for the Broncos, and that's Drew Lock. Before the season, the Broncos were all in on Drew Lock. This is the guy. He's going to be the future quarterback, the future franchise, the next John Elway for this franchise. Well, he goes 24 of 40, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He actually has a 53% completion percentage, almost a 49, let's call it, completion percentage, in a season where everybody's completing 60, And he's got 1 touchdown to 4 interceptions on the season. I know he's missed a couple of games, but when he has played, he's turned it over more than he's thrown it in the end zone. He's got Phillip Lindsay there. He's got Melvin Gordon. He's got Sutton. Sutton's been hurt, but you got Judy. Is he really the future of that franchise? I mean, if I was Denver, you're gone. I mean, we've seen enough.
No, I think that's more of just that's an incredibly young team trying to put it all together and just not being able to. Phillip Lindsay's been in and out of the lineup. Melvin Gordon's been in and out of the lineup. Cortland Sutton got hurt after game 2 and hasn't been in the lineup. So he's got Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler, 2 rookie receivers. He's got Noah Fant, a second-year player. I mean, that's an incredibly young offense, and they're just not performing well. Drew Lock has been hurt a lot too. So I think it's more of, the circumstance right now. I'm a decent fan of Drew Lock. I think he's got plenty of talent. I think he has the ability to succeed in the NFL and play quarterback. He's just got to get put in a situation that's better for him. And right now, that's just not it. That team just can't succeed right now just because of everything that's been going on. Just too many, side, issues.
All right. Well, in a draft that seems to be very quarterback first round heavy, we could see 4, 5, 6 first round quarterbacks taken in this draft. Do you really want to roll your dice with Drew Lock and not take one of those guys this year?
I mean, kind of depends on where you finish, because again, I'm a huge Jamie Newman fan, but we haven't seen a lot of them. We haven't seen any of them, and we're not going to see any of them. So do you take him over a guy like Drew Lock, who's, already you've got a system and, things like that? Do you really start over? I mean, if you get a guy like Trey Lance, obviously I think you jump all over it. And, if a Justin Fields is there, which he won't be, but, somebody like that. Brock Purdy is playing extremely well. He may come out and he's got a chance to sneak in the first round. There are a couple guys that, but are any of them really more talented than a 3-year Drew Lock who's already got a grasp of the offense and things like that? I'm not really sure.
All right. Next thing we have is this one's going to be the one where you have to talk a bit. 39-29, the Chargers beat the Jaguars. It is the Jaguars who go to 1-6. Good call, Jesse. Carson Wentz and the Jaguars. But although Carson Wentz hasn't looked great, but
yeah, he did, but now he looks great.
Justin Herbert gets his first win as a professional starter. How about this for 5 starts, 308 yards per game, 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions?
Yeah, Justin Herbert's pretty good at quarterback, man. I'll give him that. He's playing really well. He's playing extremely good football. He's just slinging that tater, and he looks really comfortable back there. Even when, the team's down now, I know they're down a lot. They're throwing the football. In this instance, they're not down. But, like with Tampa, they were throwing the ball all over the place because they were just down. But, man, they look good. Keenan Allen is a great, little security blanket to have. That team just looks – I mean, not that team. Justin Herbert is – I may have been wrong. It's still very early in his career, but I may have been wrong.
And I was going to say, I was hoping you were going to double down Max Kellerman style, right? And you're going to say, hey, listen, 5 starts, Ryan Leaf looked like a Hall of Famer after 4 starts.
Yeah.
So anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen. I still don't think he'll be like the best quarterback out of this draft. But I don't think he obviously looks like he's better than I graded him out to be. He looks like he has a better mental grasp of the game than I initially gave him credit for, and that's the real difference right now.
And then we talked about this a couple of shows ago. I'll bring it up again because the Jaguars are 1-6. But by all accounts, Gardner Minshew, 7 starts so far this year, 265 yards a game, 65% completion percentage, 13-5 touchdown to interception. He's a good quarterback, and not even an average. Like, he's actually a good quarterback, but I still feel like nobody, not the Jaguars maybe, although the Jaguars did trade Nick Foles because they were going with him, but I just feel like nobody around the NFL that I've talked to believes that Gardner Minshew is a starting quarterback in the NFL.
I mean, because he just can't win games. I mean, he's just not winning games. Like, I didn't see this game, so I don't know if he's stat padding at the end of the game, because I know the one game, I think it was 2 games ago, he had a great stat line, but they lost the game, and because for the first 3 quarters he looked like shit, and then he turns it on and plays well in the second half or in the fourth quarter, but they're already too far down. We talked about it before. My favorite quality in a quarterback is if you can win me football games. I don't care how many yards you throw for. If you get a win in that column, that's more important to me. So I just don't know. I mean, even if it wasn't Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, I think the Jaguars should be looking for a quarterback.
All right. Let's see here. Second to last game we have is the Cardinals 37-34 over the Seahawks. Obviously, this is Kyler Murray's coming out party, if you want to call it that. Russell Wilson 1.0 versus Russell Wilson 2.0. Russell Wilson has 388, 360 for Kyler Murray. He also runs for 67 and a touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins, we talked about 10 receptions, 103. Tyler Lockett, 15 for 200, and all three of Russell Wilson's touchdowns.
Hey, guess who didn't start Tyler Lockett?
Hey, good job.
I was a little distracted this weekend, but I forgot to put him in.
My question, I guess, on this game here, your boy Isaiah Simmons hasn't really made a lot of noise this year. Gets the interception in overtime to seal the game.
He hasn't been playing well at all. The transition to like real every down linebacker has been a little rough for him. But in that play specifically, it showed exactly what he does really well. I mean, he sprinted back into coverage and made a play like a safety would. The Cardinals looked incredibly talented. They look good. The Seahawks don't. That defense is shaky. They don't scare me, honestly, as a Tampa fan. Seattle doesn't really make me nervous. The only team that makes me nervous in the NFC is Green Bay. I think Seattle may have an issue even getting out of that division.
Now, I didn't grab the footage of the chase down. Obviously, we've talked about Budda Baker.
I wish you did. How does that not what you have? God damn it, Wayne.
I wanted to get it, but I don't want to get kicked off again.
That's true.
So throws an interception. Budda Baker's running down, and DK Metcalf just chases him down the entire length of the field, makes the tackle. Everyone's kind of been talking about it. I've seen some funny memes. I think Brandon posted one where it was like, girls chasing the pumpkin spice. And then it was But as great as it was, great hustle play by DK Metcalf. I'm going to say that. That said, it has absolutely nothing on Ben Watson chasing down Champ Bailey.
I don't know about that. I think it has everything to do with it. Budda Baker's a legit 4-4 guy. And
Champ Bailey's a 4-3 guy.
What year was that, though?
I don't even remember.
There's no way it was in Champ Bailey's prime. This is 3 year into the league, Budda Baker in his prime on a full sprint. That DK, the best part about it all is just Budda Baker's kind of a small guy. Well, everybody's small compared to DK Metcalf. And the giant DK Metcalf running behind and catching him, it was such an incredible sight to watch. I mean, that guy's a freak of nature. He's a cyborg. He's not a human being. He's just not. I think he's a robot.
So I went back and I watched the Ben Watson chasing down Champ Bailey. And Champ Bailey caught the ball in the end zone. So he was running basically 106 yards for the end zone. He got knocked out at the 1. So basically, and Ben Watson was on the other side of the field, so had to come diagonally.
Oh, that's easier, though. You got the angle then.
So he actually had to run like 130 yards to catch him. But here's the thing is that when he hit him at the 1 yard line, Ben Watson cleaned his clock like, Ronnie Lott, just leveled him.
Destroyed him. That's the other thing about that one, too, is that he did have the angle. But I mean, again, it's still a long ways to run. And then DK Metcalf had to come like essentially kind of directly behind it. But man, I mean, both are impressive. It's like the chase down block or something like that. It's just, they're exciting plays. And, Seattle just losing this game, I think, is the bigger talking point because this is a divisional game and you can't afford to lose these against teams like Arizona.
No, well, they're still the first team. I mean, they're still 5-1. Arizona's 5-2. So, I mean, they're still in the lead division. Like you said, their defense is we don't know what their defense is going to be. But Arizona is also very young, so we don't know what they're going to be. I mean, so those two teams, I think, both have problems. Neither one of them do I consider a Super Bowl contender.
I would agree.
In the NFC.
Yeah, I would agree.
But they're both exciting teams to watch.
Very fun to watch.
And then the last game I have here, obviously, is our Monday night game tonight. It's 44.5. Rams and the Bears, Brandon's favorite team from Triple Shot Sports. We're still fans of his, even though he thinks Emmitt Smith is better than Walter Payton. And
does he really?
Yeah,
God,
I think so.
Blasphemous.
I think he actually said something like Walter Payton's like the 7th or 8th best running back of all time. He's got like Emmitt Smith ahead of him. I don't know if Curtis Martin.
Oh, wow. That's insane.
our comment here is a new comment from David Stanley. DK will be the Megatron of this year.
I actually think I can agree with that. He has all the same skill set. I mean, when he came out, everyone compared him to Megatron. It's everyone in the world compared him to Megatron.
Megatron was the second overall pick. DK Metcalf lasted to the end of the second round.
Yeah, but I mean, that's because DK Metcalf played in the SEC football and doesn't really have the same wide receiver skills that Calvin Johnson had. But as an athletic prospect,
Johnson played at Georgia Tech where they won the wing option.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. So he didn't really have the same wide receiver skills that Calvin Johnson has. Calvin Johnson was a natural wide receiver. DK Metcalf is an athlete playing wide receiver.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Calvin
but they're
Johnson
still compared because they're 6'4", 240 pounds, and run 4.3s. So they're the only two guys to ever do that. Like, they're going to naturally be compared to each other. And yes, DK Metcalf has every ability to become Calvin Johnson.
Wasn't Calvin Johnson 6'6"? It was like 6'5" and 3/8 something like that.
I don't think so. I think it was actually 6'4" and 3. I'll combine it up right now.
Yeah, you look it up. But I'm going to say 6'6". Maybe a tad under. But I'm not... To me, because I think we've had this discussion before, I think Calvin Johnson's the best receiver of all time. Better than Jerry Rice, better than Randy Moss. I think he is my number one choice at wide receiver. So there's no way. And DK Metcalf in 6 games for me to say, he's going to be just like Calvin Johnson because, again, I have Calvin Johnson as the GOAT, and I don't see DK Metcalf being the GOAT.
He's 6'4". He's 77 inches, which is 6'4".
That's 6'5".
It's 6'4".
72 is 6 feet. 77 is 6'5".
Bro, 77 divided by 12 equals 6'4".
6.4.
Yeah,
idiot. That's
6'4".
That's 4/10, not 4/12.
Oh, you're right.
Jesus Christ.
You're right. That is 4/10.
Yeah. Math 101 here at Infinity Sports.
You're right.
Yeah, 77 is 6'5".
Yeah. So not 6'6".
Close enough, 6'5" and something.
So we were in the middle. It says 77 inches, so not 6'5" and something.
I'm just happy that you thought 6.4 was 6'4".
Whoa. I mean, we didn't make that mistake.
Like we're in the metric system, like we live in Canada.
Hey, damn metric system.
All right, back to the game at hand. The Rams and the Bears. The Bears are getting 5.5 from the Rams. I'm automatically taking the Bears with that because their defense is ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I think the Bears money line, I would say, even on this game, because I don't know if Jared Goff can beat this defense.
I don't know if Nick Foles can beat the Rams defense either, though. Obviously it all hinges on what you can do with Aaron Donald. But yeah, I mean, it should be a good team. This over-under is going to be a tough one. I mean, I'd take the Bears and the points, but man, the over-under is tough. I'd probably take the under. I'm going to take the under.
Well, my Vegas spread that I make up works out to 25-20, which sounds about right.
Yeah. But that's an over, isn't it? Yeah, that's an over.
Yeah, 25-20 would be just over. So that's why I'm like, I don't know. That seems about right. Because even if it's 24-20, that's under. I guess I take the under as well. But I'm taking the Bears in the money line. I'm calling it.
Ooh, I like it. Getting saucy. I mean, anytime you're a home dog, the money line bet's a nice bet.
And that kind of wraps up the show. I do want to say, again, thank you to everyone who chimed in and gave us some comments. We always appreciate that. Wish we had nothing but comments to kind of go off of. It definitely makes the show longer, although we're running about an hour and a half because we don't have restrictions anymore. We're free. Yeah, I got no strings to hold me down. So definitely check out Belly Up Sports. They've got a lot of great shows. Check out the blogs, particularly mine about Jordan and LeBron. Some great stats there. And obviously check out invadercoffee.com. Enter the code BELLYUP. You get 15% off your entire order. Something you might like, Dan, they actually have their creamer has BCAAs in it.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah. So
that's
if you're looking to get your pump on, you want to have your coffee, boom, put it right in there. And you get 15% off. I think it's $29.99 for a big jug of it. Oh,
nice. That's easy peasy. I want to give a big shout out. EJ, I love you, man. She's with us. He lost his mother, unfortunately. And I just want to say I love you, man. And I love her too. And yeah.
Well, that said, Kenny, you want to take us home on our first day as the Belly Up Sports?
It's over!